What's up everybody, Josh Fogel here. I'm bringing you another video today. If you like me, you may not like me as much after this video, just because I may say some things that are controversial and in today's society, if you disagree with somebody, you automatically hate them. So that's kind of where we're going to start off with this. I want to go over the topic of training or eating for fun versus eating for function. It's a big difference, especially whenever you start to talk about people who compete. This video, if you're someone who believes in IFYM to the absolute extreme, I will say that I do not agree with you and that food quality matters and the types of nutrients that you ingest matters when it comes to fat loss and muscle growth. So if you don't want to listen to anything else I have to say, click away now, but if you're someone who actually cares to have an open mind or even rational discussion, please continue watching. So, what I mean by training for fun versus training for function is, yeah, to a certain extent, you can fit whatever you want into your daily macronutrient totals, and at the end of the day, you can gain weight or you can lose weight or you can maintain based on the calories in versus calories out principle. This is undeniable. I don't think there's anybody who would try to argue this. However, if you want to get the absolute most out of what you're doing in the gym and throughout the day, I do believe that eating for a functional purpose is going to be more beneficial than just eating versus a total calorie goal to try to fit whatever treats you can into for your day. Now, there are the people who will claim that, hey, you know, if I eat a little bit of junk food, I stay on my diet better. Okay, that's awesome. And if you're a normal person, that's completely fine. But if you want to talk about someone who's a competitive powerlifter or a competitive bodybuilder like I am, or most of the people who watch this might be competitors as well, you start to talk about a different level of crazy in their head. And you really got to understand that when you start to train for a show or when you start to prep for a meet, it no longer becomes about, hey, I want to just make sure I'm living a happy life. Like, you start to lower your calories pretty heavily. You'll start to train very, very hard. In powerlifting, you start to get very, very beat up. In bodybuilding, you start to feel like you want to die. And you have to understand that eating little Reese's cups in your day just because you can isn't going to be your best bet. Eating very whole, unprocessed foods, trying to limit as much inflammation as possible, may not be the tastiest thing in the world, but it's going to go a lot longer in terms of how you progress and how well your body looks versus just eating whatever you want. People will sit here and try to argue that, yes, you know, you can eat that stuff. There's people who do it, and you're right, there are. And they also have to diet for 52 weeks out of the year, and they have to stay in these very, very prolonged periods of fat loss. And I truly believe that if they didn't and they ate a more processed or unprocessed whole food based diet and really tried to limit the amount of inflammation that they're causing, that they would actually lose fat at a better rate and see possibly more muscle growth as well. The quality of your nutrients matters, and this might send up a red flag right now, but I don't care because I've seen it time and time again anecdotally with people who I work with. I've had somebody come to me and this individual was working with another coach and they said, hey, this is the macros my coach gives me, this is what I'm currently eating. I've been trying to lose weight for a very long time and it's just not going anymore. I took a look at her plan and I developed a meal plan based on her current macros. Her calories stayed exactly the same, but instead of eating a bunch of sugar-free Jell-O, putting little Reese's treats like sugar-free Reese's treats throughout the day, we just kept it completely as little bit of inflammatory foods as possible, kept gluten to a minimum, and she was on the same exact calories and started to lose weight. And I do believe that this person wasn't cheating on her diet before, or they weren't doing anything wrong, that just a change in foods with the reduced inflammation, they started to see a positive effect on their body composition. People will say all the time, oh, we stop losing weight, you increase calories, you can start to drop body fat because of cortisol, etc. Well, yes, and some of these foods can cause similar reactions in the body to where if you start to have inflammation, you'll start to hold excess water, excess fluids, that type of stuff. So when you start to take those out, you can actually start to drop body fat or drop weight again. And that's what I believe is kind of what's going on with this individual. And you know, if you're training for a competition, you don't want any sort of inflammation going on. You want to be at your absolute best. So if you're giving yourself stuff that's causing your gut stress or your body stress, that's not really what you want into your diet. And when we're talking about bodybuilders, you gotta get absolutely shredded. I mean, you're pretty much naked on a stage up in front of a bunch of people. Why risk anything at all? Why leave anything to chance? why not give yourself just say 16, 20 weeks of your absolute best diet? It may suck. It may suck completely, but you know what? You knew you did everything in your power to get where you wanted to be, and you can't think, well, maybe what if I did this, or maybe what if I did that? You want to make sure you're training as hard as you can. Most people will not argue that. You know, leave no stone unturned. We always see that posted on Instagram under people's captions, but when it comes to diet, people will leave stones unturned. Just because they want it to feel good. No one wants to go to bed hungry. No one wants to have a food craving. And I've mentioned this in a prior video, the interview with Dr. Jordan Shallow, and I don't mean it to sound negative, because there are eating disorders and it is a real illness that people struggle with. But if you're worried about developing some sort of eating disorder because you can't have candy for a few weeks, or you can't enjoy a nice dinner out at, say, Outback, this probably isn't going to be the sport for you. I mean, going into this, you know, you're going to have to limit certain foods. You're going to have to limit the amount of food you're eating. You're going to have to spend a lot of time in the gym. So knowing this going in, you might want to pick a different hobby if you feel like you're really going to struggle with that. Because if you really want to make, I've said really a lot. I'm sorry, I keep saying it. It sounds like I'm saying a lot. But if you actually want to make a difference for yourself and be like, hey, this is the best me I've possibly been physique-wise on stage, why leave anything to question? That's just the way I look at it. And if you look at all the greats in any sports, no one's seeing frickin' Tom Brady out there eating donuts and ice cream every day just because he's in the off season. I mean, these guys are professional athletes, and the best of the best. They're always training. You look at Olympic athletes, anybody from around the globe, in their off season and their on season, they're always training, they're always rigorous, and they're not taking any excuses. That's why they're the best in the world. And that's why whenever you start to talk about competitors, well, why do you compete? You don't compete just to go up there and say you did something. Well, some people do, but most people don't. Most people get that bug and say, well, I want to go make a difference. I want to be the absolute best I can be and try to win this thing. So if you want to go do something like that, make sure that no one's working harder than you in any aspect of the sport. And this includes diet. And this is why it matters when you eat for function versus eating for fun. That's enough of this little video for you guys. If you are upset, if you loved it, whatever the cause may be, leave some comments in the comment box below. And if you really enjoyed it, feel free to like and subscribe to my channel. Also, if you are interested in coaching, training programs, anything like that, feel free to check out my site at www.djoshvogel.com. And if you want to, take a look at some of my sponsors. They have really cool apparel, supplements, all that fun stuff. You can see those in the comment box below. So once again, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and feel free to leave some feedback. Thank you guys.